I love that. And thank you. Great. So good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for hopping on. We have a really, really special treat today. A wonderful person in our Keller Williams leadership, both locally and regionally. We do have, I'm going to call you the Honorable Erica Hill with us this morning. So
You know what
Erica,
that means, right, Halley? It just means I'm old.
oh no, it means that you're with honor. There you go.
Oh, thank you. You have to earn that through age, though.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's beautiful. I think so. I think you've earned it. So, Erica, go ahead, introduce yourself a little bit. Talk to me. What's your relationship with real estate? And just take it away. I know you have some special stuff for us this morning.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've been in real estate since the early 80s. I've been through all of the market shifts, kind of like Gary Keller. He always talks about that. If you've been around a block as long as we have, you've seen it all. Bought my first home at 18%. Not a smart idea, but it was the time. So I've been an agent. I had a mega agent team, sold a lot of property, met Gary Keller, shifted into leadership, and I never looked back. So I started with one franchise in Boise, Idaho, because that's where I happened to live at the time, which is now about 750 agents and one of the top in the country. We strive for perfection and first to cut our cap, first to do a whole bunch of stuff, and 72 sold, which we'll need to talk about separately. We're launching that as well. If you haven't heard of it yet, you will. It's going to be part of our company nationally. They just inked that with Gary Keller. So that's going to be exciting. But anyway, leadership track has been, was a team leader for years and the OP at the same time. I'm actually why they wrote the rules that you're not allowed to do that, because you can't, you can't do both effectively and replace yourself. So I was stuck in between for many years. And then I finally found Stacy States, who some of you may know, who is like a daughter to me. And she came to me as a brand new licensee. And of course, now she's your regional director. I think some of you were hanging out with her the other day. And so she's given me the luxury of time to step back and really just stand behind in both a regional capacity and as an OP of the Market Center, and just be a sounding board for her and our other leaders. So I'm kind of reclusive at this point. I'm almost never seen, which is for me perfect. But I really was excited about coming out today. And I was just telling Kim earlier on, I don't usually teach because it's, it seems like honestly, I'm just going to be very brutally honest. Anybody who knows me just knows that's the way it is. You don't usually have much of an impact that way. I mean, the stats are that less than 2% of the people in the audience are going to take anything that you've said and, implement it and make it meaningful. So I tend to coach one-on-one with the brave at heart. But I got so excited about coming here today and sharing some information. And as I said to Halley before she opened the call, I hope we can get through all of it. And if not, that's okay. We'll do it like speed dating. Awesome. But I do want it to be interactive. So one of the things that I like the very least is for no one to participate and just stare. And then, if you do that, I'm probably just going to run away.
Well, we don't want that. And we have some great people on the call today too. So I'm so excited. Hey, Manny, there you go. There's Manny.
So answer questions, ask questions. Please don't just leave me out here on my own. I came here to be with all of you. So let's get started, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're heading into a recession. Everybody knows this, right? The market's shifting. I know you're feeling it there. And the question I always have is, after the unsustainable market that we've had that's been so extended, is anyone surprised? I mean, history is going to continue to repeat itself, right? And there are lessons to be learned in good and bad economies. So I'm asking all of you, is this an advantage or a disadvantage? I can't hear you, Manny. Unmute yourself.
Advantage.
Advantage. I love it, because we get to choose which it is for us, right? Yeah. So I'm going to just blitz through some things, but please, like I said, feel free to jump in. And it's just really good to see some familiar faces too. So thank you, Simon. Thank you, Michelle, Manny, Halley. Quickly touch on the 5 laws of financial integrity, because at times like this, I mean, it's always important, but at times like this, it becomes compounded and much more important. So 5 laws of financial integrity. Who knows what those are? Anybody? Okay. going to shout them out. Number one, make more money. Number two, protect your money. Number three, budget your money. Number four, leverage your money. Morning, Ed. And number five, improve financial skills. So, and how do we do that? I mean, there's a lot of ways, but how can you immediately improve your financial skills? Books, there's books. All right. So I would recommend Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Never gets old, incredibly foundational. Also Financial IQ by him will teach you tons. If you haven't read those yet, do yourself a favor, read those. For investors, the primary goal during these times is to hold cash, right? Since its relative value is increasing, money gains purchasing power in these times. So when people expect falling prices, they become less willing to spend, and in particular, less willing to borrow. And after all, when prices are falling, just sitting on cash becomes an investment with a positive yield. So they're going to be looking for deals. So what should we do? What should we do in our own personal lives? Any ideas? I'm looking for one idea. I can just keep telling you if that's what you prefer, but all right, well, let's do that. Jump in though. If you want to say anything, don't be shy. My top five for what we should be doing right now is building reserves, for sure. Build reserves. If you don't have 6 to 8 months reserves, personal and business, get after it. Systems in place, your database. I have been hounding people for, it feels like about 3,000 years to get on top of their database, attach it to a 33 touch time block to lead generate through your database. I mean, I can't even tell you how few people, even top producers, when I meet with them one-on-one, really can tell me their numbers. Like, this is how many people I have in my database. This is how many are A's and B's and C's. And this is how often I'm reaching out to the A's, and the B's and the C's I treat like X. This is, if you haven't done that yet, that's step one. There's no step two. Just do that one thing that will put you ahead of 90% of the agents on the planet, really. And if if any of you are willing to take some of these steps, and if some of you already have, gosh, I would love to hear from you, because that makes my day, but it's very rare. Like I said, even with top producers, for them to be able to tell me their numbers. And know that it's a mathematical equation. Your database is gives you a predictable number of units you'll do in a year. If you're mining it correctly, then you can just use that as a directional and just say, well, if I want to do 25 deals this year, I have to have X number of people in my database divided by 24 times 2. I mean, it's math. All it is simple math. And if you don't know how to do that, many, and I know Michelle, Simon, Ed, and or Halley can teach you. But please, if you don't take anything else away from this call today, please do this for yourselves. Look for ways to cut costs. An example, we'd be spending, a lot of agents I know are spending money on leads. They're spending money on Boomtown and Zillow, and they're not following up on the leads. That's just throwing cash in a fireplace. Don't do that. Don't spend time on paperwork and think you're saving money. We'll talk about the 80-20 principle a little bit farther down the line, but one of my least favorite things to do is to find agents who wind up in the admin portion of the business, because that's basically $20 an hour work, right? When, if you're, let me say you list a home, I know somebody's going to answer this one. If you list a home, how long does it take you to actually go on that listing appointment, do a CMA, go on the listing appointment, get the listing? And if you price it right, it sells. How long does that take?
Not very long now.
I mean, 2 hours, maybe.
2 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
not.
So what is the average commission in dollars? I mean, average price range around 800,000, right? Let's just say the average commission is like
20,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say 20, 25,000. Let's just say 20,000, because we're going to be conservative. And if it's taken you 2 hours, what is your dollar per hour earning? It's $10,000 an hour. It's pretty good pay, right? Yeah. So if you're doing paperwork and you're earning $20 an hour, because you're basically paying yourself to be your own assistant, would you rather have 10,000 an hour or $20 an hour? This is a tough question. I know it's, so I'm just going to beg and plead, please don't do paperwork and think you're saving money. I know you have great TCs there, use them. Don't expand into larger overhead. Shore up your skills. We'll do that later on. Rate yourself in the key areas of training. Last but not least, understand the importance of who you're hanging out with and how it affects your income. It's critical. And I know you guys have a really good thing going here, so you'll learn or lean on each other. And in some of the things we're talking about today, it would be wonderful if you'd peer partner and really just add that level of accountability. In our market center in Boise, we have people peer partnering either one-on-one and they hold each other accountable, or in groups. In fact, I have a peer partner who's holding me accountable to pretty big goals. And I might let that slip if I didn't know I had to be accountable to her. So do that, give yourself that gift. So the state of the economy is not the state of your business. You're aware of this, right? Yeah. Okay. You get to drive that bus. Depression. How long is the actual depression? Does anyone know how the depression lasted? How many years? I mean, as we're going into a recession, let's look back at the biggest depression in the history of our country. It lasted for about 7 to 8 years. And during that time, consumers didn't stop buying. They just got better deals. So that is something I need you to just kind of be aware of and plant that seed. Because as I'm going through my days and talking to a lot of people, what I'm finding is a lot of people have some pretty negative self-talk going on. And so knowing really big picture, and of course you can learn through history so much because it's going to repeat itself. If we know for sure that even during a depression, people are still doing business and getting good deals, do we really have anything to worry about going into mild recession? No, we don't. So there's a myth. Money will come evenly distributed throughout your life. That's just a myth. There are people who believe that. Investors tend to think in periods of time. It's not a straight line. Employees tend to think in terms of minimums, like what am I getting as a minimum wage? And they tend to think things are going to go up each year, but that's not real. So it's like this. I mean, life is like this. And if you do it right, it can be like this, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Your spending is your GDP. You guys get that, right? I mean, consumer spending is going to drive the economy. And to build a wealthy life, one of the things I'd encourage you to do is just know what's enough. It's a lesson that as old as I am, I'm oldish, I really just recently learned that. And so I wish I'd known that earlier and could pass it along, because I've been jumping through, hoops and overcoming obstacles all my life, chasing enough. And it turns out, I passed the line a long time ago. I just didn't know. So you just have to know what is enough. And there are ways that we can know that. So again, always happy to help if you want help with that. But I can't adequately express the importance of that one concept. Really, I can't overestimate it. So what ruins, huh?
Sorry, do you mind to expand on that just a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah. Yes, that's a great question, Manny. And yes, I will. Okay. So for me, this isn't for everyone, but I think it's for a lot of us. You have to begin with the end in mind, right? That's how life should be. You just figure out, what do I want my life to look like? What is that life? How do I fund that perfect life? And then how do I drive toward it? And so in our real estate, in our industry, we have such an opportunity to own real estate and build wealth through assets and passive income through real estate ownership, or if it's through index funds, whatever your preferred method is, there are only so many to choose from. But you have to know what number you're shooting for, because if you don't know what number you're shooting for that will fund your life, then you're just sort of a wandering generality and you will not get there, right? So, or like me, you'll get there and not even know you got there, right? I'm still running and swinging for the fences when I could relax because I just didn't know. I have a great financial planner who doesn't manage my money because I won't let him. I know how to make and grow money, but I didn't know how to compound the future earnings for, in my head, right? So for me, and again, it's like reach out to experts to answer questions. You don't have to know everything. We're going to touch on that too. But I had to know, all right, based on X number of dollars, what will that look like in 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years? And is that going to fund my life? So I really, when I'm coaching individually, I'm actually asking people, be really clear on what are you getting up for every day? What are you aiming at? Because if you're at A and you don't know where B is, are you going to get there? I mean, if you do, it's an accident. Why don't we just get intentional and go, all right, well, in order to fund my perfect life and not be somebody who winds up retiring, hoping Social Security is the answer to their problems and living in poverty, how about we set a specific goal, work toward it, create the action steps, have accountability in getting there. That's all that happens when you see people really succeed. They just understand those principles. So written goals, knowing what you're shooting for, action steps to get there, and then accountability. Does that answer your question? Okay. So what ruins financial freedom? Well, just what we're talking about, no plan, not sticking to a plan, often a swelled head that accompanies success, which, I'm sure you've seen one or two of those people. I actually knew, well, it's pretty prevalent there because the vibe is more so that every area has its culture, right? And there I've spent a lot of time because I've worked in LA over, 20 years. And I see a lot of people feeling like they do need to an extent, kind of keep up with the Joneses and have the fancy car and have the fancy clothes and all that stuff. And when I drill down with people individually, it's usually laced with debt, which I don't know about you, but I'm allergic to debt. I'm not into it. Keeping up with the Joneses is highly overrated. Don't do that. But an example would be, how many of you feel like you kept the lessons from the Great Recession? I have been astonished by when I went through the recession, it was like someone turned the lights off overnight. It was toward the end of 2006 and everybody was roaring up a hill. We thought we were in the days of wine and roses. I too, being kind of younger and not as experienced, thought, oh, well, my business is booming and it looks like this. It's just going straight up and that's what it's going to do always. And then it went like this, right? So I just fell off a cliff and we all got to start over. Basically, the people who made it through, because a lot of people didn't. Adults were moving back in with their parents because they just couldn't, stay in business or continue on. It was a mess. But what was fascinating to me was not long after the recession everything started getting on an even keel again and people started to get out of the fear and start to function highly and make money again. I would drive into the parking lot and I have a nice car. But I'd drive into my parking lot and I'd have the worst car in the parking lot. Like, this doesn't seem right to me. Like a lot of my agents were going out and buying brand new Land Rovers and brand new BMWs. And they had really shiny cars. And you know what else they had? Really shiny payments. And I thought, were you in the same planet I was on during this recession? Did you not get any of that? Keep the lessons because they're important and they're really good about not allowing debt to weigh you down, because as we go into our next recession, those who have kept the lessons are in really good shape. Those who haven't are probably going to struggle. So let's check in on financial fitness. I just have a little list. I'm just going to rattle off some things that I want you guys to check on in your own lives and see how many. Hopefully you say yes to everything. If you don't, well, great, that's okay. You just know what you need to work on. So have you a stated profit goal for the year? Please say yes. And if you don't, please let someone here coach you and help you build the road to set a stated goal. How many appointments are required to reach your goal? How many on this call know how many appointments it's going to take, given your conversion rates? Like if you go on listing appointment, you're not going to get every one. Are you going to get 85%? Or what's your number? Again, life is a math equation. It's very simple if you let it be simple. Do you know your numbers? Now, just mind you, you're probably really glad by now I'm not the team leader because, I'd be walking down the hall like I have in my own office and lobbing these at people who really can't get away from me. They look, you see me coming around a corner, they look terrified and yet they're stuck. So I'm throwing out objections to them like, Joe said he'll list my home for 4%. How do you respond, right? And I really do intend to help them. And over time, it's worked out pretty well. I like to think I've helped a lot of people, but we take this seriously. You have to know your numbers. You have to know all of your scripts and all of your objection handlers. And until you're really confident that you can answer all those questions, just go back to class. It's okay. Just fill in the gaps, right? So are you using a written budget for your business? please say yes. If no, that's okay. Create one. There's a lot of people to help you. Are you using a P&L for your business and reviewing it monthly? Of course, we do for all of our businesses. I hope you are as well. Again, easy to take care of. If you're not, if you use Quicken or QuickBooks, those reports are like automatic. This is one of my big ones, because when I'm coaching with agents individually, so often this is a pit that they fall into. Are you contributing to a tax savings account regularly? Are you paying your estimated taxes each quarter? I can't even tell you how many people struggle with having not taken care of that, and then they're constantly running from that snowball that's chasing them down a hill. It's just so ugly and so unnecessary. It's a discipline to put away that money and pay it quarterly, but when you do, it's like there's no anvil sitting on your chest. Life is good. Do you have a CPA or a tax advisor? Hopefully you do. Are you using the MREA chart of accounts? It's right in the book. It's really easy to follow. It's right online so that you can see how do your expenses, how does your income, how does it line up with the expectation of an agent that's in business that's functioning at a high level? Do you know your margins compared with the MREA ones? I mean, if you're answering yes to all these questions, congratulations. And if you're not, I don't mean to beat you over the head with it, but just write the things down, because this is going to be your list of things to accomplish for the rest of the year. And what I would ask you to do is write everything down that you can't say yes to, and then go back and put it in priority order, and we'll knock it out one at a time. Does that sound fair? So how do you know, the average cost of each of your transactions? I mean, a lot of people know what their average income is for each of their transactions, but they don't know what the average cost per deal is. And that's really important. It's kind of like not knowing the cost on an investment property. It's a lot of people we can coach and consult, and I ask them what their passive income is on a property, and they give me this topical number. Oh, it pays me $2,000 a month. I'm like, well, what does it cost? Is it 40%? Is it 50%? They don't know. Know your numbers. Know what it costs your business, even if you make no money. I have an agent that I'm working with right now who said, gosh, costs me 8 deals. I have to do 8 deals a month just to break even. And I'm thinking, well, obviously that's a whole nother set of problems we need to talk about, but she was only doing 6 in May and really feeling choked by the fact that she wasn't going to hit her bottom line, which is break even. Do you know what your break even number is? And if it's 8, we need to talk. And last, have no outstanding consumer debt. Just none. Just if you don't, if you're not there right now, that's okay. Again, that should be part of your plan, step by step. Okay, shifting gears. Oh, wait. Okay, so I want to talk about, wealth is an accumulation of patterns, right? So do the average thing when all the people around you are going nuts, right? So drive the average car, do whatever it takes, live below your means, and then that will pay off exponentially. People tend to want admiration and respect, and so they tend to signify wealth to get it in the form of cars and houses and jewelry, usually well before they've actually earned the ability to do that debt-free. And it is prevalent in our area in LA. But humility and kindness and empathy will bring you more respect any day than horsepower. So I hope you hear that. Raise your humility. Savings is the gap between your ego and income. So, and it can be it's a daily struggle against instincts, but those who do best don't care what others think, right? And that, again, is something some people have to get intentional about learning. So less ego, more wealth, right? So are commissions decreasing in your area? Would you say they're decreasing? Saying the same? What do you think? You going up? Yeah, Ed, I agree completely. But tell me why you say that.
The factor of price point. I mean, the commission percentage is not going up, but because prices have gone up in the last few years, they've kept in line. However, that's probably not going to go on at the rate it has been going.
Agree completely. And it's funny because I love hearing you say that. So many agents are thinking that the commissions are getting squeezed, not being mindful of the fact that we've had year over year of unsustainable growth with increasing home values and prices of 20, 30, 40%. It's been insane. And of course, they may be getting slightly less commission percentage wise, but they're still making more money. But, again, that's mindset. So let's shift gears, shift it. It is happening. I'm talking to agents who are telling me they're having less showings, fewer multiple offers, but it's still a seller's market, right? And NAR's predicting 10% less sales this year. You guys hearing that too? Yeah. So what that means to me is that it would put us in the 4th best market of all time in the history of real estate. How bad can that be? So again, mindset, perspective. I want you to be telling other people this. Tell yourself, tell your clients. Clearly 2021 was the best market ever, but if we decrease 10%, it puts us in one of the best, all-time best markets in the history of real estate. So if that's your mindset, if that's your perspective and you're teaching that, you're sharing that with your clients and your potential clients in your sphere, that's doing your job. Let people know that they don't need to be afraid. Focus on the right things, and it increases in importance, right? So people who try to be good at everything, are any of you trying to be good at everything? I know I was for a long time. I was a card carrying member of this club, and I think they're dysfunctional. So I wanted just to say, I only am good at like 3 things, and I can build businesses. I'm pretty good at kids. I've got great kids, and I can cook a little bit, right? And outside of that, I'm completely dysfunctional, just transparency, right? I'm good at basically 3 things. And it used to be, so I'm hoping I reach somebody on this call who may have been in the same boat that I was, that I used to think I had all of these deficits and this lack because I wasn't good at so many things. And I thought if people knew that, they would probably want to run away, right? Like, she's bad at so many things. Oh my gosh, right? So Gary Keller was actually the one that gave me permission by teaching at Quantum Leap that people who try to be good at everything are dysfunctional. You just had to figure out what are the 1 or 2 things, maybe 3 that really, really matter, and nail them, which was such a gift. There was such a gift that I'm like, okay, I'm great at 3 things and I'm totally just, terrible at everything else. And it's a beautiful thing. And that's okay. Just nail those things. And when you hit a roadblock, ask yourself with any person, do you need systems or accountability? It's always one or the other, right? So whether it's with your sphere or whatever you're working on, when you hit a roadblock, ask yourself if you need a system or if you need accountability. And the steps to repeat are learn, do, evaluate, learn, do, evaluate. Every single day, at the end of the day, my wish would be that everyone would, instead of being so self-critical, which so many of us are, we're hard on ourselves, a lot of us, is to just evaluate your day and say, what went really well? What didn't go so well? Where can I improve? What can I improve on? And then create some kind of structure around that, whether it's a system or accountability, and then learn from it, move along. So learn, do, evaluate, learn, do, evaluate. Don't beat yourself up. That's just a waste of your energy. Causes of failure. As you could tell, I put together a lot of material. I just wanted to just like shotgun approach and just kind of almost like vomit all of this information, because I'm hoping that someone out there is, something's clicking with someone and it's maybe going to turn on a light bulb and make a difference. Here's hoping. You guys are so quiet. Causes of failure: lack of focus on fundamentals. Ignoring intuition is a big one. That's where I've made all my mistakes. Anytime I kind of had that gut feeling about something and I stuffed it down and overcame it with logic, it was usually a bad idea. Making excuses for people, one of my top 5, terrible idea. Not watching pennies, that's another one we've covered. And letting market conditions be a crutch. A lot of people, and don't let this be you, are going to let this market shift do them in, because they're going to mentally decide that it's terrible market, terrible things are happening, sales are slow, blah, blah, blah. And if that's their perception, of course it will be the reality. So I need you to manifest the right stuff, because many people are going to do really well as the market shifts. In fact, way better than they did in a market where anyone could do business, because this will become more of a professionals market. So I'm just wanting you guys to have the right mindset, get into it and thrive. One of the other things that causes people to fail is lost contact with key people, right? And again, back to your database. This is when you need to pull people close. If they pull away, you pull them closer. Got it? So there's nothing more unequal than the equal treatment of unequals. That's one of my favorite sayings. And again, coaching one-on-one, I've learned that a lot of people do tend to think that if I have 300 people in my database, that I need to reach out to all 300. It's overwhelming. How do I do that? Well, you don't. You separate them into your cores, your Bs that you're pulling in and grooming to be As, and then there's the Cs that you treat with structure, systems, and differently. Don't treat people equally. You have to really get that cemented between your ears, and then your success will be determined by the number of things you say no to, right? That's a big one. I hope you guys get that. Success is going to be determined by the things that you say no to. I really wish you'd just repeat that to yourself like 500 times a day. So calendar and stay true to the 3 to 5 things that matter. And back to the 80-20 principle, right? We're going to talk about 20% of what you do is going to drive 80% of your results. I don't care if you're talking about marriage or you're talking about business, it's always going to show up. So there are, in relationships, there's 20% of the things that you need to do. Definitely my full attention here. Oh, thank you, Veronica. Things that you need to do in your personal relationship that, you know, if I do this, this, and this, I can really screw up all of these other things, but my husband won't kill me, right? If I just nail those 2 or 3 things that are the most important, I can really screw up on the others and we're still going to be fine, right? So the same is true in business. There are only a few activities in the top 20% for agents. And I would love it if you guys would just help me out here and tell me what you think some of them are. What are the top 20% of activities in your business that you need to be focused on? And the other things are distractions. What are some of the top things? Manny, you know, you can just jump in. I know you know.
Well, it's on the chat too. Lead gen, that's the first one for sure.
Oh, yeah. I see that, Richard. Thank you. Oh, huge. Lead gen, working with buyers and sellers, right? Negotiating deals. And the only other thing that's in the top 20% is, you know, spending time on your business, not in it, but on it. So I would say 3 hours a week would be sufficient for almost anyone. So for me, it's always usually Friday, 9 to 12. That's when I'm going to be checking my budget and, you know, seeing how I'm doing and hitting my goals and making any accommodations or changes that I need to make. But working on your business is going to be minding your business and making sure, are your systems in place? Are your 33 touches rolling? Do you need to make any updates? How are you in meeting your goals? How are you in with your budget? And once you've done that, you block the time for that and you move on. You get back to buyers and sellers, lead generating, huge, and negotiating. Those are the only activities that you should be doing. Seriously, the only ones. So if you find yourself doing anything else, you can be guaranteed that's going to be in the 80%. That's the $20 an hour stuff. It does have to be done, but does it have to be done by you? No, the answer is absolutely not. And you shouldn't be, because quite honestly, agents should be making thousands of dollars per hour. And if you look at your business as a per hour business, because it is, then a lot of you will maybe stop, you know, handling some of the things that are in the 80%. That would be really nice. But those are the things that are in the top 20%. So you got it, right? Lead gen, negotiating, buyer seller presentations, working on your business, time blocked 3 hours a week. So now what I'd like you to do is play along and rate yourself. And I really, really need you to do this. And, you know, like I said to Halley earlier, if you do, it will change your life. It won't change mine, right? I'm not going to get anything out of this, but if you'll do this for yourself, it could potentially make a huge impact in your life. So rate yourself with your database on a scale of 0 to 5, with 0 being, I'm pretty pathetic. And then 5 is, I'm a black belt, nailed it. Database with your 33 touch and knowing how many deals are available with your given number. Get your database dialed in and rate yourself on a 0. And there's no wrong answer. All I'm asking you to do is be aware of where you are in this period of time so that you know what education you need in order for you to push forward, right? So there's no wrong answer. If you have zeros, I don't care, that's fine. I just need you to be aware of it, and then we'll come up with a plan to deal with it. Fair? Okay. So database, you need to know how many people are in your database, how many deals are going to be available given the number of people in your database, A's, B's, and C's, and your 33 touch. Contract knowledge, rate yourself on your contract knowledge, 0 to 5. If you're a 5, congratulations. If you're not, great, write that down. Lead gen. Okay, so I don't know how many of you love lead generation, but I know I don't, but you do it, right? Because that's in the top 20%, and that's going to drive everything else. And it makes it easier if you know models like the Ford model and the Grow model. So you have easy, convenient conversations at your fingertips to have with people. Does everybody know what the Ford model is? Say yes. Yeah. Okay, good. If you don't, somebody speak up and I'll tell you what it is. And then the Grow model, does everyone have a Grow model under their belt that they can turn to when talking with people? That's GROW. We all know what this is, or no? I mean, if you do, it'll be astonishing. Thank you, Sunshine. Okay, Grow model. Do you know what the Ford model is? Yeah, okay. So family, occupation, recreation, dreams, got that. The Grow model is goals, reality, obstacles, way forward, right? So G, goals, R, reality, O, obstacles and opportunity, W, the way forward. What is the way forward? And then what's the gap? Create one. So if you're talking to somebody, it can say, you know, it's very easy. You can say, what are your goals? And then, you know, let's talk about, you'll obviously hopefully know what reality is. So you know if it matches or not. And then what are the obstacles that they need to overcome in order to reach their goal? So what is the way forward? What's the gap? And then once you know that, it's very easy to create the action steps necessary in order to help them create their goal or hit their goal. Make sense? So those are conversations you can have. Of course, family, occupation, recreation, dreams is easy. How's the family? How's it going at work? What are you doing for fun lately? Recreation. What are your big dreams this year? Any big vacations? So those are easy things to create and get your scripts down and feel more comfortable talking with people and making it about them, not you. Nobody wants to hear from us when we're telling them how well we're doing. Let them ask. Buyer presentation. So you're going to rate yourself on lead gen on knowing how to have those conversations with people, 0 to 5. Buyer presentations, seller presentations. Rate yourself 0 to 5 on that. If you're a black belt in those presentations, excellent. If you're a 3, a 4, whatever it is, doesn't matter, write it down. And then last and not least, negotiation skills, because man, you got to have some hardcore negotiation skills to win when you have multiple offers. And you really need the same negotiation skills when you're consulting sellers in general, and buyers, but more so with sellers. So if you rate yourself in those categories, anything, I would again ask you to make it a list of priorities. Go, okay, well, you know, I'm doing pretty well in these 3, and these 2, I'm really feeling deficient. Great. Get on the calendar and get yourself into the class that is appropriate for you so that you can raise that to a 4 or 5. And I'm going to tell you, our classes, it's not like college English 101. You don't go, oh, I did it. Our classes are meant for you to attend again and again and again. So like if I'm looking to get better at lead generation, or I'm looking to get better at seller presentation, I'm going to sign up for that class until I feel like I can walk up to the front of the room and teach that class. Does that make sense? Yeah, it really does. I mean, you know, if you think of it that way, think, what would it take for me to feel confident and comfortable to go up to the front of the room and teach that class? How do you think that's going to translate when you're standing in front of a seller? Pretty well, right? I think you're going to win all those listing appointments. So question, when do your activities, am I running over? Probably, I always do. When do your activities that you do today impact your life? When do those activities that you do or don't do today impact your life? I could stare all day.
Well, I think some of the actions affect you right then, but a lot of them are really affecting your productivity and your finances in the next 60 days, you know?
Perfect. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I love that answer. So yeah, I would say, because we know that the business we do today is really going to be income 60 to 90 days out. What we do or don't do today is going to impact us 60 or 90 days out. So when I'm meeting with agents and they're having a day where they feel like giving themselves permission to take the day off, I'm like, well, you realize that's a paycheck you're not getting in 2 to 3 months, right? You have to have that mindset. You have to know that what you're doing today may not result in income today, but it will. And you're going to want it 2 to 3 months from now. So regarding leverage, when things go wrong, I just want you to have this in your pocket. You have to ask yourself, do you have the wrong person, or do they not know what to do? That's just a question I think that's really appropriate for you to just keep in your pocket. And as you run into situations, ask yourself, especially if you have admin, if you're working with a team, you need to ask yourself, do I have the wrong person, or do I need to help them better understand what to do, right? And then a couple of wind-up thoughts, or last thoughts. Let me talk about personal responsibility, because that is what we've been talking about. If you'll do some of the things, or all of the things that we talked about today, that is your key to happiness. And it's all personal responsibility. People who get their arms around that concept realize that if it's up to me, and you follow the steps that we've talked about today, you're going to just have a great life. And I always say, if you love your life, congratulations. It's your fault. And if you don't love your life, congratulations, it's your fault. So it's personal responsibility is the key to happiness. And last and certainly not least, let me share many's heard this 3 steps to happiness. I know Michelle has too. So this is the way I want you to use this lens to look at the world and separate your world using these 3 steps. And I promise your life will just continue to get better. And that is, number 1, separate your world into givers and takers. Get real clear on who the givers and takers are. If you're looking for it, you'll see it real quick. If you're not looking for it, you probably will miss it. So look for it, separate the world into givers and takers, pass on the takers, stick with the givers. Number 2, look for people whose words and actions match. It shows up pretty quickly. Look for that. Number 3, in real relationships, they contain both mutual trust and respect. So if you're in a good, healthy relationship, you'll have mutual trust and respect. If 1 or 2 of those elements are missing, then you have something dysfunctional. You just have to figure out what it is, but look for mutual trust and respect in your relationships. And if you use that lens, you'll be, again, ahead of 90% of the people on the planet. I'm done. What do you have? Any ahas, any questions?
I think the ahas will take about 60 minutes. That was mind blowing. Thank you, Erica and Halley. That was amazing.
I know. Erica, thank you so much. It was great. I was sitting here just taking copious notes, and I hope all of you guys were doing the same, because this is true financial, true financial situations that we need to go through and rate ourselves and be very aware of what we're doing in our business and what we're doing with our home and how that affects our overall lifestyle, right? And how that's going to affect one day, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, for some of us, even closer around the corner. So
well, one of the things too, Halley, I want to mention is
yeah.
that there's nothing that we've talked about today that's complex. One of the things that I'm known for and take pride in is I can turn anything complicated into something really simple, really quickly. And so these are things and principles that every single person here can adopt. They just have to choose to. And then again, it's the old, how do you eat an elephant? We talked about a lot. You can't do it all at once. You have to, one bite at a time, you have to make a list and then put it in priority order and go back to it and knock them out, right? Mm-hmm. But if you'll do that, I promise your life is going to be so much better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love this. Thank you guys so much for joining us on a Friday. I'm going to call
Thanks for staying over too.
Financial Friday today. Yeah. It was great. Financial Friday. I love this. Thank you guys. Thank you, Erica, so much for your time and your knowledge. We so greatly appreciate your leadership and you coming on this call and sharing with us.
Thank you all. And thank you all for the lovely notes in the chat section. Wonderful to be here with you. Let me know how I can help going forward.
Okay. Have a good Friday, everyone. Hope you see lots of success. If you have more questions about what Erica talked about, reach out to your leadership. We're here to help you. Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Have a good Friday.
Bye.